This story is about a girl who once decided to kill herself. One night, she was on her way to commit suicide. At that precise moment, the girl suffered from something worse than suicide. That terrible event changed her life completely, which you are about to see in this horrifying story. Now, the girl is one of those who saved the lives of others. Lisa McVey was born in March 1967 in Tampa, Florida, and lived with her grandmother and her boyfriend Morris. She was forced to live with her grandmother as her own mother, who was addicted to drugs and alcohol, left her at the age of 14. Previously, she had been in and out of foster care. Describing her childhood as rough, Lisa McVey grew up in foster care from the ages of 2 and 7 before she was returned to the care of her biological mother, a drug addict who would disappear for months at a time. Living between homeless camps, in cars, and in abandoned buildings with leaking roofs, she eventually moved in with her grandmother and her grandmother's boyfriend in Tampa. But the home was anything but a refuge. From the moment she turned 13, McVey was sexually abused by her grandmother's boyfriend. Then in his 50s, every night for the next 4 years. The abuser swore her to secrecy, threatening to kill her if she ever told anyone about the abuse. He referred to her as his girlfriend and would also hold a gun to her head during the attacks, threatening to pull the trigger if she ever made a sound. Scared of the repercussions, McVey followed her abuser's demands and stayed silent. But when she turned 17 and her grandmother's boyfriend started speaking about having a child with her, McVey could bear her life no longer. "I went to work one day at a local donut shop, and before I left I wrote my suicide note because I was just done. I was going to end my life when I came home that night. I was going to kill myself using the gun he used to hold to my head when he raped me. I was tired of everything. It was time to go." However, things took a drastic change when she was abducted on November 3, 1984 by a serial killer and rapist. On November 3, 1984, McVey was abducted from her bicycle on the ride to her grandmother's home after work. A serial killer, Bobby Joe Long, blindfolded her and held her at gunpoint. Not just this, she was raped and tortured for 26 hours. Those 26 hours of her life changed everything. During this time, she decided to live and left the idea of suicide and determined to find ways of her survival at any cost. McVey, who realized that she no longer wanted to die, told Bobby Joe Long, "I'll do whatever you want, just don't kill me." Before he kidnapped Lisa McVey, Bobby Joe Long had already murdered 8 women. He would go on to kill 2 more after releasing McVey. In addition, Long had also committed more than 50 rapes. Bobby Joe Long first began his crime spree in the early 1980s, using classified ads to find victims. After raping dozens of women, Long started killing them in 1984. Then in November, Long kidnapped Lisa McVey. While trapped in the killer's apartment, the blindfolded 17-year-old overheard the news report that she was missing. She choked back screams as Long once again threatened to put a bullet in her head. Certain that Long would murder her, McVey pressed her fingerprints on as many places as she could in his apartment. Police would someday be able to use the evidence to catch the killer, McVey hoped. During her captivity, she appealed to the serial killer and offered him to be his secret girlfriend. She gained sympathy from Long by claiming to be the only child of an ill parent. Finally, after more than a day of torture, Long tied McVey up, blindfolded her, and threw her into his car. She then searched for clues that might save her life. First, she used a small open space below the blindfold to size up the car, which was a red Dodge Magnum. Long drove McVey to an ATM and a gas station. He then dropped her off behind a business around 4:30 a.m. Long told McVey to wait 5 minutes before taking off her blindfold so he could drive away. "Tell your father he's the reason I didn't kill you," he said. When she arrived home, she was beaten by her grandmother and interrogated for 5 hours about her whereabouts. Despite this, she maintained her part of the story and a phone call was made to the police. Lisa revealed in an interview that, "I watched a lot of crime shows. You would be surprised about the survival skills you have when you're in a position like that. He orders me to strip, which I do. He asks me how old I am. I lie and say 19. He leans back and says, as long as I do what he wants, he won't kill me." Yes, Lisa used her experience from these crime shows to escape her captivity. She revealed that she had memorized several details about her abduction and intentionally left fingerprints on Long's bathroom so the police could identify her in case she dies. Lisa McVey wanted to make sure the police caught Long, so she told Sergeant Larry Pinkerton everything that she remembered about her attack. Just days after her ordeal, McVey heard a news report about a murder victim in her area. Convinced her kidnapper was the killer, McVey called up Pinkerton and said, "Come get me, there's more I need to tell you." McVey recounted her experience to the police again. Pinkerton asked her if she'd like to be hypnotized to help her jog any latent memories. But when her grandmother's boyfriend refused to grant her permission, this prompted McVey to reveal his abuse to the cops, leading to his arrest. With one of McVey's abusers in handcuffs, she wanted to make sure the same thing happened to Long. Placed in a center for runaway teens, McVey looked at a photo lineup of potential kidnappers. Since McVey had briefly felt her attacker's face and also caught glimpses of him due to the small gap below her blindfold, she successfully identified Long in the lineup. Ultimately, Lisa McVey's story led detectives right to Long. She was able to retrace her abductor's movements so that cops could track down his car. Just 12 days after Lisa McVey's abduction, police captured Bobby Joe Long. Unfortunately, the serial killer had managed to claim 2 more victims before his arrest. The next year, Long was found guilty on first-degree murder and sentenced to death. He eventually confessed to committing 10 murders. Long was executed on May 23, 2019. During his execution, Lisa and another survivor, Linda Nuttall, were also present. Despite going through a series of abuse and torture by a serial killer, Lisa did not take the wrong road. Instead, she began working for the Hillsborough County Parks and Recreation Department. When she reported a break-in at the office, the deputy who came to the scene said, "You've got the attitude to be a cop. Ever thought of that?" In 1999, Lisa got a transfer to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office as a dispatcher and became a reserve deputy. She put herself through the police academy and was deputized in 2004. She works in the same department that found and arrested her captor, specializing in combating sex crimes and working to protect children. Apart from this, Lisa also works as a middle school resource officer and narrates her story to teach students how to handle potentially dangerous situations like she once faced as a teenager. Today, McVey, who became the subject of a 2018 Lifetime movie, Believe Me, The Abduction of Lisa McVey, is a proud master deputy in the Hillsborough County, Florida Sheriff's Office. Not just this, she is happily married to another police officer and goes by her married name, Lisa Noland. She was the subject of an episode of I Survived a Serial Killer on A&E. In the episode, she describes Bobby Long as the worst demon you'd ever want to know. Her story is truly inspiring, isn't it? Make sure to comment down below if you've ever survived a horrific incident like this. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to get some inspiration from this story and never lose hope no matter what happens in your precious life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any of the videos.